Never ever reject a girl? What is it we do in the red pill? We swap notes. Now, I'm sure people have heard all kinds of different stories about us, but I'm here to give you a glimpse inside the locker room. Here, we're going to discuss the field reports that happened a few years back. Brand new guys who are trying to learn the strategies that we talk about. Who am I? I used to be one of these brand new guys. I, like you, was pretty good at women and relationships, but I wasn't great at it. Hard times hit, things got tough, and it turns out there's nowhere for a man to go nowadays that actually wants him to succeed, to thrive, to get better at what he does and improve his lot in life. So, like most guys, I took it upon myself, found a bunch of guys in the same boat as me, and together we built a set of working strategies based on the experience of hundreds of thousands of men, just like us. Men swapping notes, iron sharpening iron. Welcome to the locker room. Never ever reject a girl? Hey everybody, I'm going to try to make this fairly short and straightforward of a question. It seems that many guys on the married red pill come from dead bedrooms, or at least can relate. A common mantra is never to reject your wife's sexual advances unless, depending on a slightly debatable view of this sub, she's offering you some kind of starfish or duty. To me, this seems as though this for sure is the right mentality for a guy who's been struggling with a lackluster sex life, has swallowed the pill, and working on improvement. If you've been a chump for years, begging her for half-assed performance, getting it occasionally, that's one thing. But what if you've never been shot down by her? What if you can get it anytime you want? So, is the rule never to ever reject with your wife? Or are there exceptions? My situation is similar of this guy I saw in an old post where his wife had been gaining a sizable amount of weight, and I've been losing physical attraction to her. This old post and a lot of others can be searched for on advice columns and comments on the issue and how to deal with it. So it's very easy to find opinions on how to sit your wife down and discuss the weight and what's to be done about it, or to simply lead by example without that many words. What about the sex though? Is there any reason to think that rejection due to her unacceptable weight gain will help her reality check and motivate? Or in your opinion, is it important to keep doing it on the regular and letting her know you're finding her choices unattractive, unacceptable in other ways? I have some gut feelings about this too, but I wanted to get a full takeaway from this place. Thank you very much in advance. For a dead bedroom, there's a bit of a double meaning here. When people refer to it, it's usually to the subreddit where a lot of people get together and talk about their horrible dead relationships. Now, the secondary meaning behind this is the way they handle these type of situations. If you read, listen, or talk to people who are in a dead bedroom, they will talk incessantly about it, and there's a couple key points that they'll always discuss. The first one is that the other person is wrong, that the person complaining has done everything they're supposed to do, and they were never rewarded at the end of it by a sexually fulfilling marriage. So when people say a dead bedroom, they're not just talking about a relationship that's dead. They're talking about a person who has the mindset of extensive covert contracts and a seething sort of animosity towards the other person not properly valuing them, but taking no personal responsibility in leaving oneself in that situation. Never reject your wife. It's not so much a rule. There aren't really rules here. This is more of a guideline. The idea is if you're coming from a relationship that had less gratification than it should in your eyes, that you should never punish somebody for doing what it is you want them to do. In this case, for a guy who's been in a dead bedroom, punishing his wife for actively initiating, just because of some random nuanced or emotional ego-invested trigger that doesn't meet his particular standard. So when you say never to reject, it's the idea that you set a codified law in your relationship that, as a general rule, nobody in the relationship turns the other one down for their carnal needs. And that's a generally healthy way of doing things. even though it's not quite applicable to Op's situation. I hate this phrase. It's so annoying. I put it with the same group as saying they're red pill aware. When somebody says they're swallowing the pill, they're talking about their start date. Basically, the moment when they first read a post, when they first purchased Rollo's book, it's a weird, nonsensical date, and it implies that some kind of time in as a metric for success is a good thing. When in reality, I've seen it as the exact opposite thing. The kind of guy who talks about his experience with a lot of the material in the red pill usually doesn't use his timeline as his metric of success. He may mention how many different books he's read, the success he's gone from start to finish. Very, very rarely will he bring up his time invested. And it kind of shows a lot of the mentality that guys come into a relationship that's having this much trouble, where they think about the cost sunk fallacy. Unfortunately, when a guy is brand new to this space, this is usually how he frames his interactions with the space, so you kind of take it as a very good indicator that he's really new and is probably going to make some very basic problems and missteps, especially with his field reports, but you see that already. For this particular situation, it's that his wife is gaining a bunch of weight and he doesn't find her sexually attractive anymore. In that case, yeah, rejection kind of makes sense. It's the old heuristic here: reward good behavior, don't reward bad behavior. But the problem he has here is thinking there's some combination of words or mouth noises he can make that's going to incentivize her to actually go and lose weight and become her most attractive self. The one thing you're going to learn if you're in a relationship for any length of time is that you cannot change the other person. So by signaling that she's decided to be comfortable enough to gain this much weight, it tells you two things. It tells you, one, that you're willing to put up with it, and two, she has no concerns that if she's not on her best or been the exact best wife that she can be for you, that's good enough. Which in this case is clearly not so. So what's the takeaway for you? It's that term, acta non verba. Actions, not words. These are what matters. In the same way that we'll tell a guy when he has a dead bedroom of his own that your wife gets first crack at your libido, not sole custody, it's the same case here. If she's going to signal to you that she's not invested into being the best she can be for you, well then it behooves you to find somebody who will be. And the absolute brilliance of this strategy is that women work very well with a touch of anxiety. I'm not saying it as in you're putting her in a complete state of fearful dread all the time, but there is nothing that motivates a girl more than the chance that she might lose the best man in her life. In the same way that you'd be amazed how many guys are willing to do whatever it takes to keep the family together, what you're doing is you're creating a situation that allows the girl to tap deep inside herself and use that same motivation to make her the best person she could be for you, which is usually what you're doing for her. So an alternative of this situation playing out is fairly simple. When the girl starts gaining a bit of weight, maybe poke a few jokes, but you start distancing yourself sexually. It doesn't have to be a deliberate thing. For the most part, our own biological impulses are a pretty good measure of how much of the other person we can handle. Yeah, there may not be a whole lot of love for her, but it doesn't have to be a whole lot of love for me. At the same time, your general state of mind should be one that's very flirtatious, one that's very charming, one that has options. Ideally, if you get to the point there where you could have any woman, but you choose her, it sets her up for success. The process is in place that she wants to be looking her best for you at all times. It's not so much a threat that you'll find somebody else, but if you win a prize, you like being able to earn the prize. So what you're really doing is you're setting everybody up for success, and you're making an absolute wonderful scenario for people to appreciate what they got and not take it for granted. And as per the norm, thanks for listening. I'll have these out fairly often. If you want to see some exclusive content, we have our Patreon community. awesome group, very switched on, and none of this would be possible without them. So huge shout out towards them. Also Ground Shark Coffee, because if you don't know me by now, you know I drink copious amounts of it, and it's basically saving my awake hours. But on that note, you guys take care.